You're not woke, you're broke. I'm your host, certified financial therapist, Jaelyn Vickery, guiding you towards becoming someone who finally trusts themselves with money. If you're ready to transform your financial identity through real money talk, money news, and money stories, turn up the volume and tune in. This is Finance, Fitness, and Finesse. Hey, Finessers! Welcome back to Finance, Fitness, and Finesse. I'm your host, certified financial therapist, Jay Vick, and I'm so happy to have you guys here joining us for the show today. We have a phenomenal guest feature that I have been waiting to have on the show. Grace, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
Yeah, of course. So we have a lot of really cool topics that we are going to get into, but just to give you guys a little bit of an intro about Grace, Grace Ganley is the founder of In Good Company Collective, a local women's collective dedicated to creating opportunities for connection and growth through curated events, partnerships, and shared experiences. A Decatur native with a background in business, Grace is a natural connector who is passionate about bringing people together in meaningful ways. Through In Good Company, she focuses on identifying real needs within the community and building relationships that matter, cultivating partnerships, supporting small businesses, creating thoughtful experiences, and fostering authentic conversations that lead to lasting impact. Grace believes that when women are seen, supported, and connected, they are better able to reach their full potential. And that kind of growth strengthens an entire community. Grace, you're a powerhouse. Thank you again for joining us today.
Intro, that was lovely. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a little bit of background context for you guys, finessers. I'm sitting across from someone who's also, a female entrepreneur in her 20s, right? Stepping into the world of not only creating something from nothing, but also creating something to bring people together. And there's a lot of power and impact behind that. I've had the privilege of being able to attend a few of your events, Grace, be able to have the opportunity to feature my business, Dimensional Wealth, to speak at your events. So I just want to, just thank you on air for cultivating that type of opportunity for me.
Well, thank you. It's been fun to connect with you and build together. That's kind of been the cool thing about In Good Company is, like you said, you connect with these founders that are on a similar trajectory in their own way, and having the opportunity to uplift and support and see how we can grow together has been really cool.
Yeah, we go further together, right? Especially as women. After all, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. The first question that I like to start off with asking my guest, Grace, is what is a money memory where your financial identity changed?
Ooh, whoa, that's a good question. So financial identity, could you give me a little context there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good question. No one's asked that before.
I want to make sure I understand.
Yeah, so financial identity, typically, right, we're in our 20s, mid-20s, from high school moving on, we are trying to figure out who we are, right? What do I like? What are my values? What are my interests? What am I about? And too often, we don't actually bring money into the picture there. And that's why, as a financial therapist, I support people in establishing a strong financial identity in regards to what are their values around money? What are the things, the events throughout their life that have impacted the way that they think, feel, and behave about money? So when it comes to asking about your financial identity, I'm looking for whatever the first memory pops up where you really felt an impact for worse or for better in regards to how it impacted your financial life, be it sometimes people say my first car, my first house, my first student loan, things like that.
Well, honestly, what comes to mind, I don't have like a specific moment in time that comes to mind, but you and I have talked about this through our entrepreneurial journey. Not only, you cited my background with In Good Company, but I started with as a business coordinator and now business administrator for my family's safety company. And we've seen quite a bit of growth through that. But one thing, and I know you and I have talked about, that impacted my identity and understanding of money really came from experiencing a scarcity mindset early on in business. Because there can be, when you own your own business, and it's supporting your family, and it's also contributing to a greater cause, whether that's your community or the workforce, there's a lot of fear around that, or there can be. And I saw that through how our company was growing. And therefore, I think a huge value for me, and something that I think I've incorporated into what my financial identity has been, sustainability. I don't want to come from this scarce, forced place that doesn't feel sustainable. It doesn't feel healthy. So that experience in business early on after I graduated and has been, I think, an informant there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, it absolutely
Okay.
does. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And you brought forward a term called scarcity mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
That so few of us are familiar with, right? And sometimes when I've talked to people about scarcity mindset, they think, okay, well, does that just mean that I'm poor, that I don't have, my basic needs met? And I mean, maybe it could mean that,
Sure.
but also, you can have all of the resources at your fingertips in regards to food, shelter, water, money, but scarcity mindset can still follow you if you aren't actually aligned in regards to your identity and your sense of self, and how what you have acquired in regards to your assets impact your connection with your life as an individual and in your community. So, from what it sounds like to me, Grace, and just a little bit more background context for the finessers that are listening. Sure. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about In Good Company, but I would first like to just preface the fact that Grace is such a credible professional because you actually take the extra step to engage with and invest in the businesses that you provide as resources for your community. I mean, even with Dimensional Wealth, right? You were like, I would like to make this I would like to be able to refer this as a resource, but I'm going to do it after I try it. And not enough people do that. They just make partnerships and then they're like, well, like this is just who I'm partnered with. But you invest in that personal growth so that you have a deep understanding of the resources that you refer out to others. So tell me a little bit more about In Good Company, its mission, and how it fosters these types of connections within the community.
Sure. Well, and I appreciate you acknowledging that, because that's something I think unconsciously I've started to do, and then now really have seen the impact of it, because one thing I've learned through In Good Company is, and in community, trust is everything. And that's where we see a real connection point and really a return on investment, if you will, because when women build trust, there's an economic behavior that follows. So for me, getting to experience the services of the businesses and organizations or individuals that are offering something like Dimensional Wealth in our community, and being able to really speak to it and say, I have experienced how this can be life-changing or how this could improve your quality of life. To me, that's the difference, opposed to just soliciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And trust itself is an asset, right? Trust is an asset, and that it's an asset because it directly combats scarcity mindset, where we can have everything that we need in regards to our basic needs or our hierarchy of needs. But if you are not engaged with trust as an asset to your well-being, you aren't going to be able to truly engage with the new opportunities at hand to really elevate yourself, your business, your community, things like that. Have you heard of the Great Wealth Transfer, Grace? Okay, so we're going to get into that a little bit more after the commercial break. But before we break, I'll just define the Great Wealth Transfer. So right now, there are more women populating the earth than men, and we are on the cusp of the greatest wealth transfer in modern economic history, right? And it's the greatest wealth transfer to women, right? Because the most women are set to inherit a great amount of wealth by 2040. And so I'm looking forward to, after the commercial break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the great wealth transfer and how communities can better equip women to be able to receive the great wealth transfer. Finessers, How is society supposed to survive if the wealth gap keeps growing because financial support is built for people who already have money? A lot of financial services are charging $200, $300 an hour just to have a conversation. And for most people, that's just not realistic. I mean, 4 out of 10 Americans can't even afford a $400 emergency expense. Dimensional Wealth offers financial therapy and money coaching through a pay-per-minute model starting at just $1.50 per minute. You pay for the time you need, time and money, 2 of your most important assets back in your control. In just 8 sessions, our clients see lasting change, becoming more organized, more confident, and navigating their money decisions with more ease. So if you've been putting off getting financial support because of time or cost, now you have no excuse. Visit jvic.com to book your consultation, and listeners of the show get an exclusive discount on services using code DWF3. That's DWF3 at jvic.com. You're not woke, you're broke. Now back to the show. Welcome back, Finessers. Listen up. The Great Wealth Transfer is a 2-decade shift of between $84 and $124 trillion. All right? It is set to take place and peak by 2040, okay? In the mid-2040s, right? And now this includes men and women. However, like we said before we went to the commercial break, right, women are set to inherit the majority of this wealth. So, Grace, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on women's impact on our economy?
Yeah, thank you. I would love to tie it back to community because I guess I can speak to what I've seen within Good Company, and that is when you bring women together. And again, we're never exclusively women, but we're talking women here. So when you bring women together, there's not only this emotional, social impact, which is very real and very important, but there's this proximity to opportunity, because getting back to that trust element, women share pretty openly. Women are also drivers of consumer spending in their households and in the US. So when you see that engagement in community, it's collaboration, it's sharing resources, it's opportunities for growth. And I think that's really where we see this impact happen. And I think that's why we're seeing this transition to women holding more wealth in our society. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think about that? Does that sound? This is just what I've observed. I've only been doing this for, a year and a half, but it's so tangible. I mean, I have organizational partners now that have shifted their resources and their marketing dollars to sending their employees to my events or to like community events because they see a greater return, because those employees then build relationships within community, and it's authentic. Mm-hmm. So I'd be curious if that aligns with what you see happening.
Yeah, I mean, women are absolutely the drivers of consumer spending, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, for a majority of reasons. And what I have seen at your events is also tackling a major problem, across all demographics, no matter what your gender or race is, which is loneliness, mm-hmm. right? You also solve the problem of the fact that even though we live in a technological age where we are more connected than ever, we are also more, can't be more separate than we ever have been. And you are facilitating in-person events where you can actually see, hear, touch, you're engaging with the senses of connecting to people. And it activates a huge aspect of community that, at least from what I've seen in my work, loneliness drives consumer spending in a way that is more harmful mm-hmm. rather than it is helpful. And what In Good Company creates is, what I like to say, collaboration is currency, right? Collaboration is currency across the board, where you're creating win-win scenarios for, the entrepreneurs involved, the organizations, but especially, the people coming in off the street that are looking to make those types of connections, and also seeing that, if I can connect with like-minded people that are seeking to invest in the asset that is personal growth, mm-hmm. it creates community growth as well. Mm-hmm. What has been the biggest challenge for you in fostering these types of connections within your community?
Well, I think, and I'm still, trying to just learn, explore, and show value. So it is an exploratory process, but the greatest challenge I've experienced to this point is, hitting on the loneliness piece. You have to break through barriers and these limiting beliefs to really find connection. Just getting women to show up because they're so busy, to prioritize themselves, to get past the I'm not good enough narrative or I have to prove myself narrative. These are all things that create barriers to connection, and they're things we all experience. I see why it happens, but it makes it hard to give permission or to calm our nervous systems enough. I've seen it in so many different ways, and it's through all ages. So building that trust and also making it a priority, but with the understanding that it doesn't always have to look the same. I have some women that are in seasons of life where they're in the midst of parenthood. They don't have the time, but giving themselves the opportunity and space to break is a way that they give themselves capacity to engage in community. I could give a million examples, but I think you get that.
Yeah, what'll fill your cup, right? And, with what In Good Company creates is it tackles scarcity mindset around time. It tackles scarcity mindset within our relationships, and it addresses the issue of scarcity mindset around identity, right? Because we go through different life stages, and yes, we reach the stage of motherhood, right? Having a family, and that takes a lot of our focus, as it should. However, that doesn't mean that we have to be limited, to a certain box, right? In regards to our identity and who we are. And, that's why I really wanted to speak on, the great wealth transfer, and to speak on, with an influx of money, you also need to know how to receive it, whether it's an inheritance, whether it's an opportunity to save, whether it's, you're also seeing things happen in our economy where people feel like they don't have as much money, but they just keep going and they're on the go. Well, building community and building a network of people that you can lean into so that you have a diverse portfolio of resources so that you can also better understand yourself. It's critical. Grace, we've had the opportunity to work together, with you testing out financial therapy a little bit. How has that helped you learn a little bit more about yourself?
Oh gosh, I would love to talk about this. You know how I feel. Where do I start? So just gaining an understanding of my scripts or negative beliefs, limiting beliefs around money. First and foremost, I think I started with awareness, and then understanding how I could create capacity. Because like you said, I unconsciously for some time didn't realize how restricted I was or fearful I was to receive or work towards a place where in my life I could have the capacity for any kind of wealth. Things like fear, things like not feeling deserving, those are things I am working through, feeling worthy of holding that kind of space. I think it's very real, and gosh, yeah, I could go on.
Yeah, it's critical. Well, after the commercial break, we'll get a little bit more into that. Cool. I would just appreciate you leaning into this. And, Finesse, for those of you that are listening, if you've ever encountered fear conflicting with your intuition, that gut feeling that you're meant to make a change in your life, this next segment of the show is something that you're really going to want to tune into after the commercial break. Finessers, the only way to learn about money is to talk about money. Money feels out of control for the majority of people right now. But if you're here listening to the F3 show, you're not trying to be the majority. You're trying to do something different. Dimensional Wealth provides financial therapy and money coaching. Our services are designed to help you get your money organized by understanding the emotional and behavioral patterns affecting your bank account. Stop procrastinating when it comes to your money. Overcome impulsive spending, money anxiety, and heal from money trauma. Take the first step to take care of yourself. Visit jvic.com to book your consultation and listeners get an exclusive discount on services using code DWF3. That's DWF3 at jvic.com. Let's build wealth with wellness. Now back to the show. Welcome back to the show, Finessers. I hope that you guys have gotten a drink of water, ready to lock in for this last segment. Grace, before we went to the commercial break, we started to talk a little bit about intuition, right? That's your gut feeling. Tell me about your gut feeling to start in good company. I mean, literally to build something from nothing, because I resonate with that, in creating my own business 2 years ago.
I think anyone who is entrepreneurial spirited kind of gets this. And I love the term alignment, because there comes a point, I think, if you are entrepreneurial spirited or driven towards entrepreneurship in any capacity, you just kind of feel this pull. And then it's about, at least it was for me, removing those layers that prevented me from listening to that intuition or pull. So things like fear, limiting beliefs, certain relationships, you just kind of start eliminating, moving forward, eliminating what isn't aligned, moving towards what does. Within good company, I had been in transition a lot with my full-time job and just life, and felt like I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out of community at all times. And what led to In Good Company was I burned myself out. I had relational shifts. I was in a hard place, honestly. And I craved having a sense of community that felt supportive. And because I have that entrepreneurial spirit and drive, I just wanted to build it. And that's where I found fascinating. So started as kind of a social networking situation that felt a little superficial and transactional. So as I listened to what felt aligned and connected with more people on a similar trajectory, craving those same values, it evolved into what it is today and what it continues to grow into. So I have no idea what I want it to be. And I think you're like this too, when you're an entrepreneurial person, you just listen to where the needs are and what feels aligned and go from there.
Yeah. And listening to your needs is hard, right? Because typically what I've seen when people are listening to their needs, they hear that first voice, which typically is fear, right? It's our negativity bias, and that pushes us towards seeking more immediate gratification. And where does that typically happen in our consumer mindset? It happens through impulse spending, right? Or maybe it happens through avoidance, right? And then we're staying in these cycles where we aren't actually able to obtain lasting solutions that create that true alignment and create that capacity so that we can also create. In order to create, you have to have capacity. It's been so interesting with our generation, right? Gen Z, millennials, we're realizing that the pursuit of wealth, which doesn't necessarily always mean mass cash accumulation, wealth is balance across every dimension of life, and being able to be the architect of your wealth and be the architect of your life, without having to answer to the pressures of, you have to make more money so that you can keep up with certain appearances. What have you seen in regards to your work within Good Company? What are the patterns around community needs that you've noticed?
I think the big one is need for support and self-care. I think when women can learn the tools, like I want to get back to what you said about fear. So fear can oftentimes sound like logic or wisdom in our brains, that initial voice. So when you can surround yourself with people that can even just be a sounding board, I think that's the first step. You see women, they receive this sounding board and support when it's genuine in their best interest, and that's the first layer. And then you look at things like self-care, or honestly just necessary care. Women, wellness has become such a topic and layer in all events we do, for this reason. I think look at what you think you need to take care of yourself and then double and triple it. I don't think there's too much, and I think women need to start considering how we can take care of ourselves more and more and more, and that's where the scarcity mindset comes in. Yes. You don't feel deserving, or you feel like it's too much, or you don't have the resources. So wellness is a big thing. And then I just think slowly building identifying your needs from there. It's going to be different for everyone, and putting support systems in place, whether that's giving yourself mentors or reaching out to mentors, whether that's finding wellness solutions, whether that's shifting your schedule or creating space in your day. We talk about time being an asset.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could go on, but I think I see need there, and I see women crave the support and they don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. So finding communities like this that can help guide you or give you an outlet is a great way.
Yes, give you an outlet. I love that you said sounding board as well. I mean, if there's, two takeaways, Finessers, that at least I would love for you to take away from this specific segment of the show, is that your two greatest assets are time and collaboration, right? Finding people, seeking out and leaning into the discomfort of new experiences, that also slows time down, right? Because as we get older, people are like, man, like time keeps moving faster and faster. That's because we're stuck in the Groundhog Day of doing the same thing all the time. Don't get me wrong, I love me a good routine, right? But, when I realize that time is moving too fast, I find it in good company event so that I can change it up, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or, that's also the blessing of, being a therapist, is that I have the opportunity to engage in different stories every single hour of the day through the clientele I work with, having the opportunity to work with people like you that understand, personal growth is an asset as well. Mm-hmm. Self-awareness is a superpower, and that is not going to be obtained unless if you're willing to lean into finding comfort in the discomfort of knowing yourself and knowing your patterns. Mm-hmm. I have so much respect for you, Grace, and if there was anything that you would like to leave our listeners with as we start to close out the show, what would it be?
Well, I really appreciate you having me on, Jay. And as you know, I respect and value what you do so much. I did not know what financial therapy was before I met you. And I stand by every woman needs to do this. I think when you can find that support and really understand yourself and your history and what you need moving forward, it's life-changing, and we underestimate often the financial piece in that. So that's the big thing I want to say, and I hope listeners continue to find community in different ways, and within good company, I am always eager to meet new people and find new ways to collaborate. So.
Amen. Collaboration is currency, right? Mm-hmm. Grace, thank you so much for joining the show. Finessers, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show this week. If you're seeking to stay engaged with In Good Company, be sure to check out Grace on socials. I believe you're active on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Yes.
Definitely have events going on throughout the year. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You're not woke, you're broke if you don't find a way to make collaboration your currency. And if you don't know, now you know. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Finance, Fitness, and Finesse. If this episode shifted how you think or feel about money, pass it along to someone you care about. Got a real-life money story, question, or discovery? Send it our way at financefitnessfinesse@gmail.com or connect with us on social media. And remember, you're not woke, you're broke.